Hello, hello, and welcome to the KCK Inspire Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and I am so excited to be on the air with you all today. I hope everyone is having a lovely day and that you've simply enjoyed being able to take a moment to rest and recharge. I know I have. It's been such a great week, and I just hope that you have enjoyed everything you've done from working to being home to getting rest. I just hope that you're simply doing well. And if you are not, let me tell you one thing to be happy about. You're alive, you're well, you're able to move, you're able to thrive, and you're able to continue following everything that you put your mind to. And I know that's something I'm grateful for. I am so happy and thankful to every single person who listens to the show every single week. You all have no idea how much your support continues to motivate me and how it really pushes me to really dig deep and find things to talk about every single week on the show. And I encourage you right now to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to this show on the go on your electronic devices, and also tag a friend and have them tune in, because today's upcoming discussion, I believe, is something that's just for right now. This is made for somebody to hear. I don't know who it is. I don't know what or who needs to hear this, but I feel like this is something that is for you because it came to me strategically. And for those who listen to me all the time, you know that I do motivational topics. I talk about current events, but one thing I'm always going to be big about is always throwing your moments where God tells me things, because I am very much a believer. And even in the moments where I'm doing so much around in the community, at school, in my life, balancing friendships, everything, the thing that has kept me rooted and grounded is my faith. And I'm so happy to be able to have moments where I am able to hear specific things from God that I'm able to share with everybody, because I really feel like it's something that somebody needs to hear. I say that all the time. A lot of times we think and we're just like, why do I keep hearing things, or why do I feel like I need to share this? There's a reason for it. And I hope that me sharing what I have today encourages you to do the same, because we're all helping each other. Okay. Now, this week, I truly took a moment to rest and recharge and go into a quiet place. Let go of any distractions that would hinder me from hearing anything I needed God to say to me, or truly letting Him speak and giving me something to share with you all. And today I plan to dive into a powerful message inspired by Joel Osteen's book, Greater is Coming. Y'all, I've been in reader's mode a lot lately, and I used to read so much, but I guess now it's just coming back. It's been a minute, but I've been so heavy into this book, only 3 chapters, almost 4 in, but from the time I opened the book, it's been consistent words of just confirmation that I've been able to hear, and it really has helped motivate me. And I really encourage you all to go get it out there, especially for my college students, or for those who are in a place where you might feel like you're going through a tough season, or you're waiting for God to move into you and move through you for the next chapter of your life. I'm getting ready to get ready for my birthday, and I feel like for everybody, I believe that every year that we're given life, God introduces something new to us. Every time I tell my friends happy birthday, I always say, happy birthday, you're entering into chapter whatever year they are turning, because I really feel like every chapter of our lives, every year we're given, we're going to do something new and something different that we weren't supposed to before. And I want to remind every single person that we get older and we go higher every year, because elevation is coming. Sometimes we find ourselves in a period of waiting, feeling stuck or overwhelmed by the challenges we face on a daily basis. But in these moments that our faith is tested and strengthened, we have to remember that the struggles we are experiencing are not permanent. They are shaping us and preparing us for the greatness that lies ahead. So today's topic of conversation is it's time to go higher. Are you ready to elevate? I really hope I'm gonna ask that question again. Are you ready to elevate? Because I think so many times when we get on the brink of our next chapter, there's moments where we sit here and say, am I really ready to turn another age? Am I really ready to go to this next phase of my life? A lot of times when we go into new seasons of our lives, especially the ones that come out of nowhere that we don't expect, there's something in us that has to ask ourselves, are we really ready to elevate to that next level? And so, even in reading this book, I've taken a lot of notes. I got a notebook that has the 4Gs, and that's all that I'm on this year, which is God, goals, growing, and glowing. And that has been what I have been able to do. I think in the last few months of 2024, I've really been able to see myself, see God, see situations in my life from a new perspective. And I feel like even getting this book, I learned so much. So, the first thing that I read when I opened this book was the suffering you experience is a setup. It will never bring you out the same way you started. And it's also a test, an opportunity to show God that you are not going to give up and lose your passion. What do you mean when I say suffering? You may be asking yourself, suffering doesn't have to physically actually be suffering with something ailing you. You may have something that's weighing on your heart right now. You may have something mentally that's going on where you're dealing with a constant up and down battle. You just feel angry every time you wake up. Or when you wake up, you feel an immense amount of sadness. Every suffering that we experience in our lives is a setup for something new to happen. I don't know if it's just me, but I have moments where I'm experiencing crazy things, crazy stuff is happening with friends, crazy stuff is happening around me. And then a few weeks later, something big happens. And I always feel like now I can kind of anticipate it. You know, you feel like something's coming when somebody's saying something about you behind your back. In your mind, you're like, I wonder what God's preparing me for. Or you hear something going on. Even right now, we got a lot going on in this political landscape, so much brewing. And best believe I'm going to be talking about that. But it's so much that's happening. And I want you to know that the suffering that you experience right now is a setup. When life gets difficult or doesn't seem fair, we're tempted to be discouraged and lose our passions. When you get in modes where something happens that you're not ready for, say that you're talking with somebody or you're doing really good in school and then you get a bad grade, or something as vast as you have all these financial responsibilities coming on to you. You have a lot of hidden circumstances or emergencies that approach you in your life, and it's so much coming at you in one time, and it makes you sit here and let go of some of the things that God has given you. How many people have been in the place where you're doing so much that you end up stopping doing something that you haven't done in a while? I can attest. I mean, I got in college, I got into the place where I was doing stuff with my organization, obviously, but then in some moments I had to move one thing at a time, or I had moments where I even woke up mentally, attacks on my mind of sitting here and saying, do I really want to keep doing what I'm doing? And I have those moments of self-doubt would come in my head, and there's so many things happening, and I realized that it's just a setup, because if I wasn't meant to be in that place, I wouldn't be there. Everything that we've experienced in our life thrust us into the destiny that we're supposed to go. Everybody talks about the straight and the narrow path, in the sense that at the end of the day, God has made a path for all of us. Now, some of us choose to take the straight and narrow and do exactly what he says. Some of us decide to experiment, and we end up leading ourselves in places that God never intended us to. But either way, every pain, every suffering that we experience in our life is meant to take us into greatness. I could think about everything in my life that I thought was terrible, every unexpected situation, and I look at where I'm at now. And I sit here and say, wow, I don't know if this didn't happen, if this negative experience happened, if this life situation didn't come about, I don't think I would have been where I am right now. I don't think I would be able to sit here and speak as confidently as I don't think I'd be able to motivate others to be in this position. I feel like everything strategically happened for a reason and continues to happen for that reason. And so Another thing that I saw in the book was that we must learn to thank God for greater things in the midst of difficulties. You know how much of a contradiction that is? You mean to tell me somebody's telling you that you have to sit here, and even when you're going through the hurt and the pain, you got to still sit here and say, God, I thank you. Thank you that I'm getting through this. Thank you that I'm doing it. You know how many people don't do that on a daily basis? What do we often do as humans? We complain. I've been guilty of it several times, or we get frustrated and we sit so much in the frustration that we miss what God's doing all over on the other side. He's sitting there doing stuff for us, and we're just sitting here yapping to our friends. Oh, this is happening, and I don't know why this, I don't know why that. We have to be careful about the things that we say and how much we complain, because if you realize at the end of the day, you're going through these things, but what does everybody know? Everybody's going to quote the scripture that says God's not going to give you anything that you can't handle. He's not going to put more on you than you can handle. But for real, are you going to believe that? You're going to go through pain, you're going to go through life situations, but they're going to ultimately take you to higher places. And the thing and the key is that your attitude when you're suffering and going through difficulties is going to determine whether you come out greater or whether you're stuck where you are. Because God can elevate you all day. He could say it's time to go higher, it's time to go to a new dimension. But if you're so stuck in the stuff that you're being challenged with, you're going to stay complacent. So many opportunities can come up to you to do things that you've dreamed of, but because you're so stuck in, well, this didn't happen when it was supposed to happen, or I didn't believe it was supposed to happen then, it happened later than I expected. God, why? All these other things, you're going to be stuck and you're going to miss where God is trying to take you. Another thing to note from the book that I saw, but even just in my life, I'm noticing God will place people in your life, what they call divine connections, and He will use their influence, their expertise to take you to places where you couldn't go on your own. I'm so grateful for the divine connections God has placed in my life just within this year, let alone my entire life. But people I've been connected to, whether they stayed in the season I'm in now or left or was in one chapter and the next chapter, most of the people that have come into my life have helped me in a way, have pushed me, and vice versa. We've used our strengths to make each other greater. And you should recognize those divine connections in your life, because God does bring people sometimes. I talk to my best friend all the time, and she tells me how she knows how God speaks to her in different ways, how God speaks to everybody in different ways. Some people God talks to in dreams. Some people God talks to through books or through reading. Sometimes God talks to people through other people. And a lot of times when we're talking to each other, she'll tell me that she feels like what I'm learning or what I'm studying, she feels like I was supposed to share so she could understand it. There's something about a divine connection. Be so very, very grateful for those that you have in your life, because He will use people sometimes to show you things and point things out from another perspective that you would have never saw on your own. And sometimes I want to say this as well. I think a lot of people are just like, okay, so I just have to be going through suffering to be taken to a higher place. No, a lot of times you can be doing the right thing 100% of the time or 95% of the time, and you'll still experience difficulties. You might even experience more. When you're doing what God has told you to do, you're going to have people who are going to say different things. You're going to have naysayers who don't want to listen to you. You're going to have people who don't want to hear you out for what you are. But guess what? You're doing the right thing. Difficulties are going to come whether you're doing right, whether you're doing wrong. It's life. But this is the thing. Those things that are happening are elevating you to the next place, whether you see it or not. Every situation in life, I feel like, is a moment to learn something, whether it's a happy moment, a sad moment. There's some things that I don't want to do in my first year of college or I don't want to do in my second year of college that I did in my first year of college. There's some things that I want to change about myself, but I had to go through those things to understand that. I had to go through the difficulties to get that. And those things, the enemy, the words, those persons, that anxiety and that self-doubt, that stuff I've learned wouldn't be there if they didn't know something amazing was going to happen. The devil uses anxiety and fear and plays with your mental health, plays with people that you love the most, plays with so many things to try to stop you, because he knows that God's trying to elevate you to a higher place. And let me tell you, it's going to hurt. There's going to be some people that you expect to be ride or dies forever. And then you see that they get used in a situation to completely change, and it's going to hurt. You're going to deal with some hurt and some pain. But at the end of the day, you got to know God is trying to take you to a higher place. And the moment that we pray and that we ask God to help us through those situations, the moment that we sit here and say, God, I can't deal with this no more. I understand you're not going to put anything on me that I can't handle, but this hurts. This is a lot. When we pray, the source of what was coming toward us is cut off in the unseen world. That's what the book says. It says once it's cut off, it's dead. It's separated from its source of life. And once you pray one time to God, you don't have to sit there and keep asking, God, I need you to do this. God, I need you to do that. You pray once, he hears you once, he does it once. You don't have to sit here and consistently keep asking him. So don't get discouraged that when you pray and you ask, when you still see fruit from that tree that's just still growing, you still see that nothing looks different. You're still praying and the situation is still the same and you're wondering, why is it not happening? But remember, once he cut off that source, it's over. But it's still up to you to have faith until it manifests, until he allows it to happen, until things happen for your good. But you can't wait for evidence to start believing when you've already prayed. There are times that even though God cut something off in your life, it's still going to get bigger and it's still going to bloom until it finally withers away. You may have cut people off in your life, or you may have distanced yourself from people because they just don't work right. And then they're still going to come back with bigger and better energy. But guess what? They're going to wither away soon if God doesn't want them. One thing I've learned, and I'm consistently learning, when God doesn't want somebody in the season or doesn't want you to be doing something in one season and needs you to be different in another season, you can be stubborn all you want. He's going to make it happen. So you can either go with it or not. But by all means, the biggest thing that I look at in this book is that you can't be discouraged by what you see because it's not permanent. And even the stuff that you're experiencing, I think it attacks our minds so much. There's so many people I know who have dreams and aspirations to be bigger than what they are now. But you know what stops them every single time? Their mind. Or when they're getting so much progress, they take so many steps down. They're getting so many steps up on the stairs and then they go back down because they talk themselves out. They're tempted to let it go. They don't realize that it's right there. But if you're tempted to let go of the dream or the passion God has given you, today I want you to ask yourself and tell yourself that it's time to go higher. Ask yourself if you're ready to elevate. Get a new grip on that passion, on that new vision. Just because it hasn't blown up doesn't mean that God isn't going to do something. Just because you don't have 500,000 followers on social media doesn't mean that you don't have people who see you and understand you and want to help you grow. You don't have to worry about that stuff. You can't be discouraged by what you see because you probably are seeing a lot of small progress and wondering when is everything going to happen, but it's not permanent. You still have to keep believing. And those are just the things from the book. Now, the book pointed out an analogy that I wanted to share with everybody. And I also love it too because I'm not a huge nature person, right? But I like looking at how God uses nature to teach us things. I love butterflies. I love the pictures of them. Do I love being as close to them? Not really, but I love butterflies and I love what they represent. And when you look at the butterfly, we are like butterflies. They go through 4 stages of life. We go through several stages, but I want to highlight its stages of life of where we are because when the butterfly starts off, it's just an egg. That's how we all start off in our mom's wombs as an egg. Very small, waiting to be hatched, waiting to be sprouted, ready to be born. We start off as eggs, and then once the egg catches, it goes to stage 2, which is the caterpillar. It's a larva or a caterpillar, and it emerges, and they start growing, and they're getting a phase where they're trying to eat as much as they can to grow as fast as they can. They're just trying to get to that point where they can get to the place where they're growing into a butterfly. Now, this is something that before I keep going, I think a lot of times in our lives, a lot of us stay in the caterpillar stage so long. We sit here and we're just growing and we're just eating. Maybe we're not eating enough. We're not eating the right things. We're just in this phase for too long, sitting here just slithering, crawling, grabbing because we're not giving ourselves the space to elevate. You're not feeding yourselves the right things to be able to get to the place where you're ready to grow. And we have to be better about that. We can't have so many people who are stuck just in a place of You have so much potential, you have so much energy, but it's just staying there stored up. You're not letting it go. But I'm gonna come back to that. Then you have stage 3 of the butterfly process, which is the cocoon. Once the caterpillar has grown to its full size, they form into this chrysalis or cocoon where they go under a metamorphosis, a transformation. It's a dark and uncomfortable place. And the caterpillar has no mobility. It can't move, it can't go nowhere. It's forced to stick and stay in that dark place until it's time for it to bloom and to emerge into a butterfly. And that's the place where a lot of us may be right now, where there's a lot of people who said, okay, I've done the growing, I've been fed the things I need to do, but now I'm just stuck. I'm in a very uncomfortable place because I'm dealing with frustration left and right. I'm dealing with uncertainty coming left and right. I have issues that are hitting me over and over and over, or I'm doubting myself over and over. I just feel like I'm going nowhere, and it's dark. You have dark days and it's uncomfortable. And a lot of people get so mad at this stage of being in that dark, uncomfortable place. But do you realize that this is the place where, even though you're taking all these blows, these frustrations, this is the place where you're being molded into who you were created to be? If you look at the butterfly, they can't be a butterfly without going through this dark process. They can't go from having no wings and to not knowing how to fly to getting elevated to another place if they don't go through this dark phase. And then stage 4 is the butterfly, where the beautiful butterfly emerges from that chrysalis, that cocoon, with soft yet strong wings. After a small rest period, they put the blood in their wings and they begin to fly. And when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, I don't know if y'all ever looked at it like this, but it's elevated to a new dimension, literally, because you go from crawling on the ground to flying in the sky. Do y'all see the difference? You sit there and you're in a place where you're crawling. You don't understand things. Your mind's in a small state. You don't know what you're doing. You have dreams, you have ideas, but you're still in the place where you're either staying in the growing phase or you're dealing with the darkness. And every time you get hit with that dark place, you don't embrace the darkness. You get scared and you go back to a caterpillar. You get scared and you don't allow yourself to hit that new dimension where favor is. Because you see, the caterpillar, they're always going to be programmed to develop wings. Now, all the other worms in the world, they just stay worms slithering around. But God strategically made caterpillars to be programmed, to be created, to blossom into butterflies. God made us in his own image. He breathed life into us and he crowned us with favor. So that means that in our DNA, we were meant to develop wings and soar at some point in our lives. He wants us to set new standards and go further than we've ever imagined. But if you don't embrace the darkness, if you don't embrace the moments where things feel uncomfortable, you will not be able to go higher. So ask yourself, are you ready to elevate? Are you ready to go through these dark times, challenges, sufferings? Are you willing to embrace them instead of complaining about them? Are you willing to see the different things that happen in your life from a new perspective? Because you may think that you're a butterfly already. You think that, oh, because you've gotten a little bit of followers, or you think because you've got a little footing in your idea or your dream or the vision God has given you, but you thinking on a small scale when God got so much more for you, but you stuck in a caterpillar mindset. You can't have a caterpillar mindset or caterpillar thoughts and live a butterfly life. They don't go together. If you look at the caterpillar and the butterfly, they're two different entities, two different things. They can't be the same thing, which means you can't do the same thing. You can't say, oh, I want to be high. God, I want you to take me to this place. But then when he tells you it's time to go, you sit there and say, I don't want to grow. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. You cannot reduce what God has promised you just to fit the amount of faith that you have. And I'm learning that consistently. That's not something that I'm telling you. I know there's been several moments where even when I'm talking to my mom, we're sitting here planning out stuff for KCK, and I'll say a goal and she says, think higher, think bigger, because God can match it. Do you know how much of a readjustment that has to do with your mind? Sometimes we sit here and we say that We want God to do these things. You, like me, you create vision boards, you write these numbers down, but then your faith don't match it. And we sit here and say, oh, I want to be in these big places. I want to be able to be in the place where God is taking me. But your faith isn't high enough. And so you have to learn to stretch it. You have to learn to put it in another place. You know why? Because God can't take you higher if you hold yourself back. He's always going to be ready for you to tap him in to say, God, I'm ready to go. But that's why he gives us freedom to choose. He's going to keep putting breath in your body as long as you fulfilling his plan. We all have a purpose on this earth. And he wants us to get to that purpose, but he's also not going to push you in a place until he needs you to be there. But the other part too is, why sit there and wait for him to drag you? You know you have the gifts, you know you have the talents, you know you have the idea, and you know you have the goal. So why are you stuck sitting complacent? It's time to go higher. It's time to elevate to that next place that you want to go. You talk about speaking in front of thousands of people. You talk about saving a bunch of people, going out, whether you want to be in the medical field and you want to save lives, or you want to use your voice for change, or you want to be in the media, or you want to be in the political scheme and make changes in the world. You just want to simply make a difference. You can't make a difference only in your head. You have to put some action behind that. And then once you say you're in the place like me, where, yeah, you're here, but I'm only telling y'all these things because I'm learning this myself. As I'm growing, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that there's some things I have to change internally so that God can actually do everything that he wants to do. Because I see people, they're consistently congratulating me and doing so much, but I also know that God has so many more plans to take me higher than where I am now. But I can't let myself doubt, the enemy in my mind, the thoughts, the things that try to stop me, the people that say different things to stop me from where I'm going. And if I'm going to go higher, that means that I have to let go of that caterpillar worm mentality, and I have to bring my thinking to a higher place. I have to elevate my mindset, because we all want to do things. We all want to be great. I think Kevin Hart, or let me not quote that wrong, it could be Kevin Hart, but I heard a video or saw a video where it says everybody want to be great, but don't nobody want to put in the work. Everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to go through the days where things don't work. Go through the times where you plan something and it falls through. Go through the times where you think you have enough money and you don't, or you're struggling to balance things out. Everybody wants to be in this place of high power, but nobody wants to go through what it takes to get there. And a lot of people look at these celebrities, they look at these people in power, and they're just like, oh, they got there. But no, it took them steps. Even if they were handed it, it still came with a level of fight that they had to have within them. So I'm telling you, I'm asking you, are you ready to elevate? Get out of that headspace of, I can't do it. If I can't be the best person I can be, I can't continue to go through life. Get yourself in the place where you get out of your own way. You have to be able to allow yourself to grow, because God is ready for you. And the minute that you combine with him, y'all the unstoppable team. You tell him what you want to do. You put these plans out. If it aligns with what he has for your life, y'all make it happen. But you can't do that if you're sitting in a place of complacency. So I really hope that for those who are listening to this, that you truly soak that all in, because it's time for us to go higher. We got a lot of crazy stuff happening, but you know what? There's also some good things going on in the world. There's some people who have some great ideas, but they're stuck in their head. Y'all, we got to grow. We got to get better. And we got to make sure that we're ready to elevate, because God is ready to take a lot of us higher. I hope that motivated you. I know most of those who listen may be religious. Even if you're not religious, y'all, we got to get in the place where we get out of our own heads. We got to grow. We got to do better. We can't stay in the same chapter of our lives, the rest of our lives. That's why we go from being a kid to being a teenager to being an adult. There's a constant cycle of us growing. So you have to grow with life. Amen. All right. So I hope that inspired you. I'm so grateful for those who consistently listen. Please connect with me on all my social media platforms to hear more inspirational words. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin YouTube channel and turn on your post notifications. You can follow me on Instagram at Kaylin Cares 15. You can follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn at Kaylin's Caring Connection. And by all means, go to the website, which is www.kaylinscaringconnection.com. Thank you so much to everyone who supported my mom and I at the Alzheimer's Awareness and Education Conference. We greatly appreciated your support, and the event turned out extraordinary. It was more than what we could have imagined, and I look forward to seeing more of what we do with it in the future. Stay tuned for what's going on with Kaylin's Caring Connection, because we got some stuff coming up, and I need your support and help as always. Now, as I wrap up the show, I want you to remember one last thing. As we navigate through life's challenges, let us hold on to the promise that greater is coming. Your elevation is not a distant dream. It's on the way. Keep your faith strong, stay positive, and trust in God's perfect timing, because everything happens for a reason. Remember, you are loved, you are enough, and you matter. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Until next time, be blessed.